Alright fellas, here we're back for Pokemon Masters video. It's time for us to take here a look at Mai and Munchlax and see how valuable they are kind of to go for. I wouldn't say people should be going for the support character. I definitely don't think she's bad, for sure. She's one of the probably the best support for normal in the game right now, given how effective she is at setting normal zone. And she will only gain value probably with the normal arc suit and the EX zone setter. So you're probably going to want to pick up this character. I do think that one of the more unfortunate things about her is the fact that one of the biggest normal types, which is this guy, Academy Gladion, he does use normal moves and he's going to benefit under normal zone. But also the big part of him is that this is an on-type move, and that is not benefited under normal zone. So that is just something kind of to consider. But even outside of him, normal has a lot of pretty strong options, like Larry right there, and notably Palmer. So these are some very good options here that you can kind of run with Mai, and you can get some good usage out of. But obviously for the general person, a lot of people are not going to be going too much for normal types. You know, big normal type fans are going to like her, and obviously people who want to go pretty far in the normal tower are going to like her. Though also, when it comes to the normal tower, you do have the option of like Elaine, right? Elaine is really good, even though she's not a normal specific buffing support, nor does she set normal zone. She's still a really good character. But Mai probably will end up, I would say, taking her role in positions potentially like the tower and stuff, especially given that she's got like flinching and disruption and stuff, which can be really good for that mode. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look here at Mai and see what she's able to do. So at level 140, 6-star EX with the EX roll unlocked, she's got 840 HP, 354 defense, 378 special defense, and 278 speed. These stats are not bad for sure. Good HP, good defense, and of course that's going to increase more with level 180, going over 400 in both stats. 442 special defense is really good. Almost 1,000 HP here, 968, and 318 speed at level 180, and level 200 is just going to be even better for her. 300 attack, which is not too crazy, but I mean, maybe, right? Maybe some damage. 1,032 HP, 450 defense, 474 special defense, and 338 speed. Good stats all around. She's got a headbutt here. Great move for flinching. Love this move. Very, very solid. Not really much else needs to be said about it. Maybe gauge. It could be a little bit of a problem, but otherwise, good stuff. Normal Wish sets normal zone on top of her field EX roll. Being a support field character, this gives her immediately 3 sets of normal zone. And that's why I was mentioning pretty much what I was saying earlier, that she is very, very heavily leaning towards being run on a normal type team. And that's kind of like the biggest thing for people to potentially go for her, is if that's what you are like chasing for. She's got Thick Fur Protect, which is her one-use buddy move. It's activated whenever she uses any move once, and it can be deactivated. It applies gradual healing, damage guard, and the take all next effect to the user. This is a very, very good ability here. Gradual healing for... gradual healing, healing every single turn. Damage guard plus the take the next all effect combination is really good for taking those high powered attacks, because those regular moves you take no damage from, and then those sync moves you take half damage from. So this is going to be a very good team protector kind of thing there, where you're in a situation where your strikes or your big damage dealers are not going to survive any of the attacks or any of the sync moves or whatever. You can perfectly time this move with Mai and allow your team to actually continue fighting on, and that could really make a big impact in the battle. Obviously, take all next plus damage guard, amazing combination. This was proven with what, Summer Cynthia? And then her trainer move will help you, which raises the defenses of allies by 3, and they are raised instead by 6 when in normal zone. I'm not a big fan of having like a stat being buffed by a significant amount, and with this being the main way a character buffs a given stat, being locked behind having like a field effect that the character wants to have active. I think with Mai, it's not necessarily a big deal, mostly because of stuff she has in the grid here. Spoiler, she's got NPR and extension. I don't think it's that bad under those pretenses, but it's just something kind of to take note of, that you'll want to be able, you'll want to use this later on, or when you have normal zone actually activated, so that you can actually get the full buffs of this. And of course the big sis Warden, Giga Impact, simple move here, just support EX plus the normal zone, right? She's got Sinnoh Rush here, being an EX fair character. I forget who is on her banner. Who is on her banner? Is it probably just Palmer and Larry? I mean, those are the best characters to literally have on her banner. I think your only other option is like Elaine, because I guess Annabelle. It's classic red, or sorry, just red for the people who want to be who want to go that far about it, but whatever. Yeah, she's gonna be an X fair character. She's gonna have some 2 other Pokefairs on her banner, and she's got Sinnoh Rush. This is not bad when combining her with Palmer, as Palmer is a strong Sinnoh normal type character, so you're gonna be getting some good buffs out of that, or some good sync acceleration, because if you don't remember, Sinnoh Rush reduces sync count up by 1 in entry, and it does more sync countdown depending on how many more Sinnoh characters you have on the team. Sadly, this does not stack, not that it really matters, I guess, because they're characters you're not really going to run synergistically anyway. It does not stack with Arizu, because the effect right here says effects do not stack with more than 1 pair on the team with the passive skill of the same name, so this is not going to stack when putting these 2 kind of together, but that's fine. It's not really a big deal. But this is a little bit of extra sync acceleration. I don't think this is a crazy passive, but it's basically the equivalent of having anywhere between Head Start 1 to Head Start 3. And it could be good. And again, I do think that Mai will see most of the benefits of this with Palmer more than anything else. But of course, you know, you could see other benefits. Maybe like you can see run her alongside Thornton, not Lodge Thornton, BP Thornton, I guess. But you're not really going to do that. What other normal Sinnoh types are there? Sinnoh normal types. Not immediately seeing any others off the top of my head. Cheryl, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You're pretty much just rocking Thornton, who's another support, or Palmer, who is an actually viable option for the role. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just some sync acceleration, which can be good when combined with other things and maybe some other characters. Maybe like, you know, the Larry, right? Could definitely appreciate that for being a partner alongside Mai here, but you know, it's not the craziest thing. It's not like you're getting stats and stuff, but it's not bad either. Blessings of the Fieldlands, Normal Zone, and take hit, team HP recovery, and Normal Zone and take sync move hit, HP recovery 2. Alright, so she's going to be restoring the team's HP, basically Team Trash Tank. This is Team Trash Tank for when Normal Zone is activated, and this is pretty much kind of like Costume Larry's ability, but it only procs for her, where you take a sync move and you get 20% HP back after that. This is not bad when you combine the fact that she gets the tick healing herself here, the healing here, as well as gradual healing. And one of the major issues you can definitely say with this character is that she does not have, for one, gauge buffs. At least not at base, so Headbutt's going to be kind of annoying to kind of work around there, but also the fact that she does not have any sort of immediate healing, like mini potions, regular potions, super potions, please. That'd be great, but she doesn't have stuff like that. She's got gradual healing, she's got tick healing, and she's got this 20% burst HP recovery, but of course that entails you having to take a sync move, which you can of course mitigate pretty easily the damage of because of this right here, but you know, that's only one time, and maybe you're not in the case where you want to use that, whatever, right? So these could be good abilities, but of course, you know, it's still, for the most part, typically it is inferior to having like potions and stuff, but it's good that she has some form of healing regardless. Then hit, attack down, and special attack down, lowering enemy attack and special attack when her attack move is successful, on top of being able to flinch enemies, being able to debuff the damage that they, mitigate the damage that they can do, and also potentially activate multipliers like overpower, pecking order, rising tide, power play, and etc. Could be really good. And of course, generally, again, mitigating damage is a really good ability for a support to be able to do. Those debuffs are nice, and of course, deactivating abilities like fluid fortification and etc. Nice to have. And the Normal Zone team all stat down immunity. This is quite nice. Sadly, she doesn't set this on entry, so this is not going to be the most effective thing for fights like Morgan or whichever other battles do like on entry debuffs, but those stages, again, like Morgan, who can do it later in the fight as well, this is going to be extremely helpful for. I always love stat down immunity is something that people probably don't take a lot for granted until you actually get to one of those fights where like it really kills you, because this can be really strong. Stuff like this is nice, and it's good for a support to kind of cover that basis. She covers a lot of it. She buffs the defenses, she debuffs enemy offenses, she does some pretty decent tick healing. She's got stat debuff immunity, she's got a zone setting, she's got flinching, a little bit of gradual healing here, and the ability to take all ally damage at one point. That's pretty solid for a support for sure. I would say that she's definitely a character though that has holes. Again, gauge is a big one, and a lack of major team recovery is not too great. But again, we look on the flip side, you do have a little bit of a kind of a safeguard with that, given the damage guard and take on next here, and gradual healing as well. So that can be helpful there. So now let's move on to Mai's grid and see what else she's kind of working with here. So 1 out of 5, she just has Inflappable. Yippity-doo, love that. 2 out of 5, she has Flameproof, Antifreeze, Natural Remedy, Normal Zone Gauge Up, Normal Zone Normal Wish Pep Rally, Normal Zone HP Recovery 1, Train with NPR, Headbutt Gauge Refresh, Train with Hit and Deal, Buddy Move Protect, Gauge Refresh, and Quick Cure. Okay, so as we can tell, quick cure, flame proof, antifreeze, natural remedy, kind of applying all the same thing here. Bunch of different status change, status condition immunities, or removal, at least in the first instance. They have their uses. Mostly legendary arena based abilities could be helpful in some other stages. If you know that some stages do like guaranteed burn or freeze, it could be helpful there, right? Trade with NPR, this could be good if you're getting stat debuffed, which given this passive is pretty unlikely. I don't think it's got that much value, but I guess it is there. Headbutt Gauge Refresh alongside Trainer Move, Buddy Move Gauge Refresh. I don't think the Buddy Move Gauge Refresh is gonna be that useful considering it's only one use, but you can honestly probably get some potential use out of Headbutt Gauge Refresh given that she already doesn't buff speed. Outside of Normal Wish, Pep Rally. This is a great tile that she has right here. I'm a pretty big fan, especially of its placement, given that this passive at 3 to 5 is right below it. But yeah, this ability to buff speed, I think that's going to be quite helpful for her on top of the Gauge Refresh here. And then also having Trainer Move, Hidden Heal, applying gradual healing on entry. Well, sorry, on Trainer Move usage. One of the first few turns of battle, right? It allows you to preserve this for when you really need it, and you can get some better usage of the gradual healing at that point as well, instead of potentially wasting it, getting the gradual healing through this instead of, while you have this alternative right here. So not bad to have some extra ways to do some gradual healing for her. Also, normal zone HP recovery in the same vein, and this also of course does stack, so she's going to be doing an action, getting gradual healing HP recovery through these abilities, and also having HP recovery through here, so that's I think like 14% HP back, I believe, per turn, something like that. And of course, every time she takes a hit, team HP recovery when in normal zone, and of course the same move restore 20%. Again, she's not a character that does a lot of like instant burst healing, but she does a lot of different tick healing that can be quite effective for restoring her own HP. And then normal zone gauge up, similar efficacy to this. I just think Pep Rally is the best way to kind of go about this, especially given that there's some stages that like to do speed debuffing and do a lot of damage when you have speed debuff. So I think Pep Rally is a very useful ability here. At 3 to 5 here, she gets hit, team, attack up, and special attack up, headbutt aggravation 1, head start 1, hit, attack, and special attack down 9, team triage tank 9, sync move HP recovery medium 2, sure, I guess, normal zone team crit immunity, and normal wish NPR 2. Almost all of these abilities are, almost pretty much all of them are really good. Hit debuffing stats, this basically turns this into a faster debuff. That's pretty much all this does. If you don't need those debuffs super early on, or you don't really care that much, you can definitely not go for this, especially given the placement of it. It's not in a terrible spot, but there's definitely some other tiles you may want to go for that's not around this area. So being able to potentially, not pick it up is good, but it is also really good if you know the enemy's going to be buffing their stats quick, and you need to kind of counteract that really effectively. This could be good for that. Head Start 1, this is great in combination with the Sinnoh Rush. If you do think that's extra sync countdown could be vital for some stages, maybe like Palmer's Ultimate Battle, Nolan's Ultimate Battle, or these very high-powered, quick-paced stages, this Head Start 1 could be very helpful there, potentially. She's also got Headbutt Aggravation 1, godly ability, everywhere you look, tower, legendary arenas, ultimate battles, high score events, damage challenge is not bad in either. I mean, this is some great stuff. I'm a big fan of Headbutt Aggravation. We all know how 60% flinch chances go in this game. Flinching's amazing, one of the most broken abilities, and they know it, which is why Resilience exists, but Resilience still does not even completely take away the value that flinching has. It's really, really good. And then hit, team, attack, and special attack up. If you need offensive buffs with this character, this is the way you do it. She buffs defense here, and special defense, speed here, and then attack and special attack right here. So if you do need those offensive buffs for your teammates, this could be helpful. I think Mai is more of a character you're probably going to bring if you know you want to go for more investment on like your normal type teams. Less so a character that you're going to try and bring to like bring up your weaker characters. Like if you're for a normal type specifically, if you bring her with, I don't know, fucking Norman, I guess, I wouldn't say that's really the reason you're going to kind of go for Mai. You're going to go for her with these characters that are already good, like Gladion here, who can already buff his stats pretty effectively. Though Gladion can only do +4 if we exclude the grid, of course. So potentially, maybe Mai's extra title here has some value there. Maybe that's up to you. I don't really think so, but it could be helpful potentially in some cases. And also Legendary Arena is, that is nice too, especially for her trying to solo stages. Having actual offensive buffs will be good for that. Normal Wish NPR, again, I'm a big fan of this. If you need normal zone for however long amount of time, Having access to it through NPR is really strong, really effective. It's just mostly about actually proccing those NPRs, and combining this with Pep Rally right here, this gives you more speed buffs as well. Your gauge is better, and you're less susceptible to effects like enemies doing more damage when you have speed debuffs, which is not a crazy common thing again, but it does exist. There are stages that exist for it. And then normal zone team crit immunity, crit protection when in normal zone. This is of a similar caliber to stuff like this and this. I am a pretty big believer that if you're with this character and you don't have normal zone up, you're either running a low investment Mai or you're not running her appropriately. You're almost always gonna want to have normal zone up for this character. Pretty much, you get her HP recovery that way, you get the extra defenses up that way, you get the stat debuff immunity that way, you get this now crit protection this way. This gives your team basically team vigilance, meaning you don't have to worry about running as a lucky skill. You know, you're scared of enemies that do like dire hit plus and stuff like that in battle. This really gets rid of that scare of pretty long ways, so it is very good to have. She's also got sync move HP recovery, 40% HP recovery after using her sync move. This is an ability that is not just going to be activated on the first sync move. If you do repeatedly sync with Mai, again, mostly legendary arena type sense, this is going to be a very good ability. 40% HP recovery every single sync cycle, on top of all of the gradual HP recovery she already kind of gets here. And then Team Triage Tank 9, great for the team. That's going to be double tick healing for the team right here. This combined with the HP recovery in normal zone is probably going to be her best way, most efficient way in order to actually recover the team's HP. So if that is a big concern for you, Team Triage Tank is going to be a very valuable tile. Let's also really consider, honestly, the potential chance that you get stupid lucky and pull this off of this character. If you get the lucky tower, the tower lucky cookie from Mai, and it's got Team Triage Tank on it, you're really cooking with gas with this character. You're getting about 20% team HP recovery pretty much every turn if you're getting hit in normal zone, which can be stupid strong. Also, if we combine that with Super Awakening, right? At 4 to 5, she gets normal zone extension 5. I think this is a very good tile, and I think this only makes tiles like this look even better. Maybe not the normal wish NPR because it's a 50% extension, but all of this stuff kind of combined is going to look really good once we actually do get the EX normal zone setter. Assuming they're not a support that kind of takes Mai's role, but I think that's extremely unlikely given how previous EX zone setters have already been made to work. But I think it will be extremely strong once we actually get that type of unit for that 50-second extra extension, basically, on top of NPR for pretty much infinite refreshes in normal zone. Great benefit to characters like Larry and Palmer. Gladion as well with his hyper beam spam, and pretty much any other character that you think that may be a notable normal type attacker and actually using normal moves, right? So normal zone extension 5 is really good, and of course going to still remain really good even without EX normal zone setting, because it allows you to either forego picking up stuff like this or pick it up in conjunction and having normal zone basically never end on your side of the field. Also, trainer move team physical and special boost 1 here, setting that on a trainer move. When the user's trainer move when the user's trainer uses a move, this will activate on normal wish as well as the the regular trainer move here. That's not bad, especially again combining that with the normal wish right here. So if you can get a bunch of procs of this, you can get more procs of this, and that's going to increase her damage up abilities even more, because that is one thing also that Mai doesn't have on top of like crit buffs and you know, fast speed buffs. Again, this is good for speed buffing, but you know, could definitely be better on that front. Is that she's lacking in a lot of offensive enhancement outside of the normal wish. No like supportive passive to do like 20%, 30% damage support or sync support. No like big master passive or something like that, similar-ish. No rebuff, no physical and special moves up next. Outside of this, no sync move up next. No defensive debuffs, right? Like, she really is kind of lacking in that regard and actually enhancing team damage. So a way for her to do this could potentially look a lot better coming from her, where you're getting that normal zone buffing on top of actually getting some moves on next buffs. Your other characters could really actually end up appreciating that a lot, given that she already does not have other ways to kind of buff damage outside of the normal zone. So this could potentially be a good passive. I think the biggest struggle you're honestly going to end up facing with this character is what type of grid you want to go for, but at the same time, that's very much so going to depend on a fight. Are you on a fight that can be flinched, and is flinching going to be very vital for your strategy to win? Headbutt aggravation is really good. Is getting fast damage enhancement as much as possible really good? Maybe this could be good. Are you focusing on the long game? Normal zone extension could be really good. Are you facing a stage that is going to be, you know, really debuffing your speed and making your gauge terrible? Normal wish NPR is looking really good. You know, if you're going to facing a stage that is a lot of crits, or you know that you're not going to make it past enemies that have like the dire hit plus in their sync cycles, Normal zone, team crit immunity could be really good, right? There's a lot of ways you can kind of work around with this character. Anyway, at 5 out of 5, she gets first sync move, buddy move, MP, restored 1. Restoring, that's really good. The only thing with this is her being a support EX, you're typically probably going to sync with her first. I say you could probably make a case to sync with Larry first and kind of prolong the usage of her sync move for this ability. But, you know, outside of that, you're probably going to want to sync with her first, and this is going to make you probably use this a little bit earlier, which inherently kind of lessens the value of this ability right here. And of course, you know, you may end up wasting some potential uses of your Take All Next and Damage Guard if you're trying to prioritize making sure this ability actually gets off. But for the most part, you're only ever going to actually want to pick up this ability if you're in a scenario where you know that this is actually going to be vital later on in the fight, but also earlier on in the fight where you can make use of this. So that's a good thing that at least it's an option. And if it's anything, it's a 5 out of 5 options for people who know they don't need it. You know, it's not like an investment level that you may want to get to anyway. And then Team Safe Start Endurance. This is of a similar-ish caliber to the Take All Next, and not nearly as immediately effective as it is, as the Take All Next effect is. But it's that same thing where like this could really prolong your life by the margins, the very tiny margins and inches that kind of matter in the game, like a little bit, like those extra 2 or 3 turns that your team can survive because of endurance may end up being extremely vital to you actually winning a fight. But that's obviously going to be a case-by-case basis, a fight-by-fight basis, and overall people may not want to pick this up, especially given its placement, energy costs, stuff like that. You know, she's got a bunch of expensive stuff around this part in the grid, and a few other good things here as well, like the headbutt aggravation, and the team moves up next, right? So there's a lot of expensive stuff this character's kind of working with, right? To the point where I don't even want to build a grid. I really think that a grid build for this character is so much so going to be dependent on the fight, not really going to be something too universal. I think the most universal thing could be like the headbutt aggravation, but at the same time, I also think there's definitely some strategies you can work around with this character that don't rely on flinches. So in that case, maybe normal wish NPR or normal zone extension could end up being more valuable to pick up there, or there could be the case where literally both are valuable. Headbutt aggravation to prolong the fight, like be able to reduce damage enemies do, all that good stuff, on top of having the extension normal wish NPR to make sure that you have the appropriate length for your normal wish normal zone setting, right? But anyway, moving on to her 6 out of 5. She got Super Awakened here, over 1,100 HP, over 500 special defense, nearly 500 defense. 326 attack is okay. I mean, literally just going to be impactful for headbutt damage in the Legendary Arena. That's basically it. And speed stat as well, they're being buffed. Going up to 9 out of 5. She gets even more HP, even more defenses. Super Awakening plus level 200 is just cracked, obviously. And if we want to consider you may not even level 200 Mai, which I think you're probably going to if you're going to Super Awaken her. But you know, nearly 1,200 HP, 473 defense, 500 on the dot special defense, not bad at all. And of course, she unlocks her Super Awakening passive here as well, which is Head Start 1 and Adrenaline 1. This does combine well with the Head Start 1 here and the Sinnoh Rush, so she actually does some really good Sync Acceleration, which can be combined quite well with Larry, who also has his own Sync Acceleration related stuff. Sync Acceleration being reduced by here, Sprint EX roll, of course, sorry, Sprint roll, not EX roll. Doesn't he have Head Start 1 right here in the grid, if you think that is something that Larry does appreciate, you know, to have right there. And he's piercing blows. I forgot he's a piercing blows unit, man. But whatever, yeah. Like Larry, combine her with Larry, and you can get a lot of fun. Sync Acceleration and the Super Awakening just kind of exacerbates that a little bit. That Adrenaline is very nice to always have pretty much on any support EX character. It means you don't have to worry about quad Qs to maintain all of your appropriate sync countdown, or like a Sprint EX roll or anything like that. And then Team Sync Move, Team Physical, and Special Boost. This could be really good as well. I do like this in the case of running her, obviously, with other damage dealing partners. Gladion's going to see a pretty good buff from it, given that he's got himself this ability where this is activated after every sync cycle, so you could easily chain Gladion sync move into the buddy move and have that extra move up next, physical or special. Well, special, because the special ones is going to be what kind of matters, right? And enhances damage through that. Palmer can work in a similar way, of course, enhancing his crush grip damage and stuff, but also potentially that big spot where you may want to use the G Giga Impact, you know, where the team uses their sync move. Palmer gets a move up next, buffs this even more. That could be helpful, and that's most of the bigger cases you can kind of see the big usage of that. But of course, even outside of that, that's just going to be enhancing your damage no matter what, whether it's a regular Gladion Hyper Beam or a Palmer Crush Grip or a Larry Hyper Drill, whatever, doesn't matter. you'll see some pretty effective uses out of this. So every team sync cycle, that's not too bad at all. That's going to be good damage enhancement for the team every so often. And this does give her more offensive enhancement outside of normal zone and outside of this passive right here, which obviously will be completely optional. So Super Awakening, not too bad. I don't think it's too crazy either, though. I don't think this is going to be like, oh my god, life or death type of difference. But this can definitely be quite good, especially if you run like Head Start 1 or Adrenaline as a lucky skill on her. And of course, more damage enhancement, always really good. I guess you could do that with debut team physical and special boost. I guess I would not run that on her at all, but I guess it is there. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Mai. I definitely think she's more of a character that you're going to go for if you want to really buff your normal types. That's really it. Obviously, for the most part, a lot of characters nowadays are characters that are going to be like, oh, go for them if you want to buff a specific type, outside of like anniversaries and stuff, where like Anniversary Gloria fits on every team. That's pretty much the exception, not really the rule. But Mai, for normal types specifically, is going to be extremely strong, a very good option. I'm not going to say people should be like, oh my god, you should go for her if you already have like an invested Elaine or something like that, if we're thinking about just the tower. Because I don't think most people's goals are like, oh, let me clear floor 30 of the normal tower with Mai, right? Like that can be your goal, and if that is your goal, she's going to be a great character to do that, but I don't think a lot of people are going to care to miss out on anywhere between 1 to 4, 1 to 5 extra like certificates or something per reset, or 5 chests or something, and you know, waste up to thousands of gems going for a character like this and having to invest in them up to a certain move level of 3 or 4 or 5 out of 5 or whatever, to, you know, be able to clear a lot of those stages of the normal tower. I'm going to go for Mai regardless, because she's my favorite warden, and I do like her, and I like Hisuian characters, and I would very much appreciate a normal buff, but that's more so just my own personal thing, and that's how I think people should look at it as well. Go for her if you like her, and you like her kit, and you really think that's kind of what you want to aim for. Don't go for her just out of a meta purpose, or because you want to get literally 4 or 5 more clears in a tower. That's not going to be your big life or death thing, and she's not a character that is going to be like, oh, she's the only character that can do this in a certain role. Like, yes, for the normal type team, she's a pretty unique role for the most part, but mostly in a situation where you're locked to using normal types like the tower, at Ultimate Battle, you can bring whatever you want, as long as you're able to check gimmicks, or, you know, you have a setup that can effectively bypass those gimmicks or whatever. That's not really too applicable to use a specific type character. That's kind of my point, though. Either way, go for Mai if you want to. Don't go for it if you don't want to. It doesn't really matter, and I'll see you later. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.